Welcome to the Legal Leaders Podcast, brought to you by InView, LawView's community for in-house legal professionals, where we dive into the heart of the legal profession to bring you unfiltered discussions with industry titans on a broad spectrum of topics.
Hey everyone, I'm David Lancelot, your host for the Legal Leaders Podcast. I'm the CLO and EVP Advocacy here at LawView, and I have the great pleasure to have with me today my friend Scott Brown, who is the founder and chief visionary at Heriot Brown, which is a recruiting company. Scott, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are today, that kind of thing.
Thanks, David. Great to be here and be on the opposite side of the mic, so to speak. But I'm Scott. I'm founder and, as you rightly said, chief visionary officer, which is a little bit self-indulgent in job titles, but yeah, in good company. We
well said. Well said.
So I'm honored to be a guest on this show. You've had some amazing guests, so feel privileged to share my views on what we're about to discuss with everyone. But I'm founder of Heriot Brown. We are a specialist in-house legal recruitment, so we focus purely on the in-house market. And before stepping into recruitment, I was a lawyer myself, so I worked in private practice both in the UK and spent some time in Australia, mainly in corporate M&A, focused a lot around sort of the energy sector, and got out of private practice after about five years and moved into recruitment and haven't looked back. And we're a team of 20 at Heriot Brown, headquarters in London. I'm based in Amsterdam.
Beautiful Amsterdam, which of
Yes.
course, as you know, is close to my heart. Both of those places close to my heart, as I spent many a business trip in Amsterdam and lived in London for a long time. Maybe a quick question that we hadn't talked about previously, Scott. So when you were where were you in Australia?
I lived in Sydney. Do you mean
Sydney?
in the firm or in
Yes.
in the law firm? I was in a law firm called HWL Ebsworth, which is a national firm, I guess you'd call it, in Australia. It's a very large headcount. It's a firm that's grown by acquisition, and was enticed over there into a role that was an associate in a team that was a new team. So the enticement was really around like new business development, and I think that has always been something that's been that sort of sales aspect has been something that I've been drawn to, and hence now in an industry that centers on sales.
Indeed. Yeah. Well, I think maybe for our international audience, it's one of those things that especially in the States, we don't have that sort of mobility.
Right.
Right. You constantly encounter. I worked at Baker McKenzie in London. It's full of Kiwis and Aussies and South Africans and whatever, fill in the blanks from the Commonwealth, right? Caribbean people.
There's a lot of mobility. I think it goes in waves in terms of where you're seeing is it more Australians coming to the UK or vice versa. You sort of see 4 or 5 year cycles, but at that point it's not a high bar to requalify, and you're common law qualified.
Indeed.
I actually think the profession does travel better than I think most people enter thinking. I think it closes some doors, but I actually think preconceptions it probably does travel slightly better. And now in the Netherlands, being based here since we opened the office here, I've been really surprised with the amount of international. There's a massive expat community out here.
Yeah, and there's some places, of course, like the Netherlands, that have always been, since the beginning of international trade, I guess you'd say, right?
Yeah.
Since the beginning of the Joint Stock Corporation, have always been a place where they understood that they're not a big enough country with a widespread enough language, et cetera, to whatever, impose their rules on anyone else. So they made it easy for others to come to London, Amsterdam, Frankfurt, Singapore to do business. So I, I love that atmosphere in Amsterdam in particular.
Yeah.
Amsterdam, Rotterdam. I mean, there's a bunch of places in the Netherlands like that, right? Where you
Yeah.
have a very, very international group working
Yeah.
at these multinationals, that are often based there.
Yeah.
It's a really cool environment.
It's great. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. So, I think because of your experience in the field,
Mhm.
and some just experiences I've had, even recently, I thought we'd focus today on what is really your area of expertise, which is sort of like, um, how do you ensure that you always are optimizing for the next role?
Right.
How do you do the things that put you on the radar of headhunters, recruiters, uh, network contacts,
Mhm.
general counsels, CEOs? How do you do those things so that the roles are coming to you?
Mhm.
Right, the
Yeah.
pipeline is there, the funnel is there,
Mhm.
uh, so that when you end up leaving a role, which always happens, whether you think it will or not,
Mhm.
right? You don't have to start what most people think of as the job searching, hunting, whatever process, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, which I think a lot of people think is a sort of discrete thing, and maybe that's the headline on the topic is looking for a job is not something you start when you think you're moving jobs.
100%. Yeah. I think it's something that should make up a proportion which might vary and change at whatever point in your career and stage of stability you're at in your career, but it should always be something that's on your radar, and makes up a percentage of your week, whether that's actively looking for a role, and you'll go from being passive or to being active in the market, and that's the sort of stages of that and how it develops. But it should always be something I think you're investing a bit of time in, and whether you're calling it job hunting or farming a job or farming opportunities for now or in the future, or just plain old networking, then I think they're one and the same thing. And a lot of a lot of I'd say the most common mistake I find is people falling into that category that you just said, that reach out and start making contact when they're they're already in that vulnerable position, and perhaps like slightly more, have a need that needs to be met, and that can that can lead to decisions that they would otherwise maybe not have made. So yeah.
Yeah, no, very true, and well put, Scott. So when you find yourself needing to look for a job, whether it's because um, there's a strategic review going on due to Elliott Management buying a significant portion of eBay and determining that they were going to sell the business that you work for, right? And you have at least some time frame, and you understand there's some uncertainty, which is, of course, what I went through.
Yeah.
Or surprise, they just did a big riff
Hmm.
and you didn't think you'd be on the list, which is, of course, happened to plenty of people. And there's no shame in being in the however many people are in the riff. I've had that happen to me multiple times,
Yeah.
including in my first GC role in London.
Hmm.
You're on the list, right?
Hmm.
You're on the list, and you're in a vulnerable position
Hmm.
at that point. You're in a vulnerable position. You haven't thought about what you want to do, where you want to go, how you're going to do it. You haven't thought about your finances,
Hmm.
family stuff, etc.
Hmm.
So I think I think it's worth, let's call it career development,
Hmm.
right? Your
Yeah.
career development should always include some element of a couple of, I think, really important things. And obviously, this is your area of expertise. I've just been through the ringer and feel like I have some experience here, but
Yeah.
um, networking
Uh,
and profile building,
yeah.
and they're related, but like networking and profile building.
Hmm.
Um, Thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree. Just to go back to your point on not feeling, I think hearing people like yourself and others, and knowing that if you find yourself in that situation, like taking a step back and not feeling shame or being vulnerable in that position, I think is the key starting point, knowing that so many other great people have been through it, and there's nothing to be hidden there. And putting that out there, if you're talking to recruiters, headhunters, would-be employers, I think just being transparent and owning that that's the situation is a really good starting point, and you can leverage that as you're looking for help. So that can start opening doors. So I would address that point for people that find themselves in that position. And I think there are, at the moment, unfortunately, people I find there's a lot of activity and candidates in the market particularly at a certain level. But yeah, I think going back to the question and your point, I think the profile building being one of them, but networking and building a really solid network proactively at the start of your career. I mean, I remember, I don't know what your experience was like in private practice going back. It was like 101 networking from the associates or the partners that I was working with. And I think within a bubble that you operate within in private practice and whatever industry events or networks, it's quite narrow and quite narrow in terms of that approach to networking. And it's almost a discouragement of sales within the legal industry, I would say, non-solicitation and all that. So it feels a bit of a dirty word. So I mean, my approach has always been just to, and this is personally rather than as a maybe what I would advise a lawyer, but it's just to cast the net wide, and the people that you identify as being good operators, they're your horses that you want to back and stay close to and build rapport and build a network with that you can call on. Those are the individuals that you're looking to surround yourself with for the future. But I mean, how did you, like, beyond in your career, how did you, or when were you first aware of that need to network and build a network?
Yes. Well, good question. Before I answer that question, which I think is, I am prepared for, I just wanted to riff on what you just said. So our industry, and of course you are a solicitor also, I'm also a solicitor, discourages, and there's literally Supreme Court case law, that I had to learn in law school about not advertising. Right? Not advertising your services. And of course, if you go to the United States today, a lot of that has been blown out of the water, right? And you'll go to Gainesville, Florida, and see the bus with the 1-800, I've been hurt in an accident, on the side of the bus, and I can win you, $1 billion. Right? But that is still, I find that reprehensible as a solicitor of England and Wales. I find that reprehensible, and a member of the bar of the great state of Florida. So it's absolutely, it's part of our culture that our job is to get the work done for the client, do it really, really well, and then sort of fade back into the wood-paneled room, maybe smoke a pipe, and wait for, or in Britain, have a nice brandy, right? In the barrister's chambers, and not get out there, right? Not build your profile, not do the sort of aggressive almost networking that our business partners would do, right? Because they know, not do the MBA thing, do the law school thing. So I think it's really valuable to have that cultural viewpoint. And then, from my perspective, basically my story is I spent a good amount of time. I worked my way up mostly from contract positions, right? Like I used Axiom. They used me and I used them. And it was a great partnership. And they got me into a couple great roles, Amazon and eBay. Worked my way up through that. I didn't have a network, especially in Silicon Valley, and I didn't have a profile at all, right? But they got me the job, and I worked my way up, and I got to this point where I was running a sizable team at eBay for a sizable business. And then, as I said earlier, we had an activist investor come in and strategic review, and okay, we're spinning the business out, and we're well taken care of. But I had spent a solid decade becoming what I thought of as like running for mayor of eBay, right?
Right. Yeah.
I wanted to be. I knew I needed to network.
Mhm.
I knew I needed to get business done, particularly in the situation I was in, which is kind of like the ambassador for the international part of eBay, basically
Okay.
the classifieds business based in
Yeah.
Amsterdam. I know I needed to network internally at the business to get stuff done for my business.
Mhm.
And I just like doing it. But when we found out we were going out, especially during COVID, because we spent 2 years selling the business during COVID, I realized I hadn't done any networking. I had no profile. I posted nothing on LinkedIn, so basically tabula rasa for our legal friends.
Yeah.
And I got to this point, I'm like, oh crap, right? Crap. What do I do now?
Yeah.
And I got to say, because of the position I was in, I was extraordinarily fortunate to have a what they call an outplacement coach here
Okay.
in the
Yeah.
United States, right?
Mhm.
Somebody who's literally written books on things like how to build your profile on LinkedIn, her name's Erica Goldman, just
Mhm.
credit to her.
Nice.
How to draft your resume for the modern age, which is basically your LinkedIn profile, whatever.
Yeah.
Et cetera. Right. So I had all of that benefit, but it was a cold start.
Mhm.
And I recently met a very good friend of mine on a business trip, and they were in what I think of as a similar position.
Mhm.
Head down, worked, 10 years in-house, probably at least.
Yeah.
Had been at a law firm, worked in-house, did a great job, drove the business, very modern approach, but really focused on the internal and didn't spend any time
Yeah.
really networking or profile or anything.
Yeah.
And I mean, one of the funny things they said to me actually was when I spoke with them recently, I know I've got to do this stuff, David,
Mhm.
but you're good at that,
Mhm.
right? And I'm
Yeah.
like, man, I wasn't.
Yeah. It's just a muscle you've started flexing. Yeah.
Exactly what I said, Scott.
Yeah.
Exactly. So maybe you can tell us what you think, like let's start with networking.
Mhm.
What should people be doing and maybe one more point.
Mhm.
One more point. What I've seen is the people with network and profile, they don't look for jobs.
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
do not look for jobs. They are constantly bombarded by people like you going, hey, I've got a role.
Mhm.
Do you or anybody you know
Yeah. That's the dream.
want to talk about it?
Yeah, exactly. That's the sort of passive return I think that you should really aim for, to be known in the market that you operate as someone that is open to hearing about things and getting that tap on the shoulder, or you're so well networked within your industry that people are asking you for recommendations, and know that you're willing to pay it forward for someone, and you've got that type of profile. Um, in terms of what people should be doing, I think like like you said, it's a skill that can be learned. I don't think it's necessarily something that comes naturally to anyone, and I think you can follow a process and define a process. Carving out time and being deliberate about networking, and it's never been easier to network. LinkedIn, love it or hate it, it's the world's biggest conference, and opportunity abound, right? So it's leveraging that and taking advantage and leaning into that as much as you can stomach, or want to. But it gives you an opportunity to scale your network and do that at a pace which I don't think has existed previously, but where it doesn't always foster genuine connection. So what you should look at it as is a vessel to get to one-to-one relationships, and it gives you that opportunity to speak one to many, to accelerate where you have one-to-one relationships with good people, and that's your Filofax, your old-fashioned, like, these are my book of contacts. I've got their number stored. So that takes a bit of time and effort and process and kissing some frogs and being open to things. I think that and just having that type of open profile. So yeah, and I think there's no better time to start for people in the legal profession. If I'm advising someone, or if I was in that position myself now, I would be identifying and trying to network with and aiming for. But I think sorry, just pedal back. I think there's no immediate ROI on any of it, so it's like it's just compounded interest that you have to believe that having a broad network is going to open doors at some point in the future, and one of them will be the right door for you or someone, and but I would be looking at whatever sector I'm interested in, whether I'm working in it just now, who are the top players within that field, and leaning into aiming and targeting one or two coffees, teams meetings with these people at a time where they're not actively hiring. So you're not looking for something immediately in return, but you're looking for advice, framing it. And I think we spoke about this when we chatted at the ACC, David, like, how can I help? Or can you help me? I think it's such a powerful word that drop barriers, and that's the type of engagement that I would be looking to have if you're leveraging LinkedIn as a platform, as an in-house lawyer. I think on the selling front for lawyers, in-house lawyers that we speak to, we've recently ran our second cohort of a program which is catered to this and designed around elevating profiles for in-house lawyers. It's the Executive Council Accelerator, and Emma Bauer and myself run that in tandem, and have designed the course, and some of it is around networking externally and some of it's internally. I think in-house lawyers sometimes think that, business development, I've left. That's one of the reasons why I'm running away from private practice. I don't like the need to, or they see their career growth stilted if they're not doing business development, because they're never going to have that partnership case. But I think, I think selling, a lot of the time, the best selling is when you're not selling. It's networking and being a bit of an open book, and being a good operator, and someone who builds trust that way.
Wise words. I mean, I've been taking notes because those were wise words. I think let's recap a little bit, right? So I think consistent career development, and I love the phrase compounded interest, right? I think that puts it in words that everybody can understand. It's not about, I'm looking for a job, right? And that can be really hard. I mean, especially, back to the culture, right? How often does an associate at a law firm take unbillable time to do what they think of as business development, and I think of as just learning what the hell my business does, so that they can advise me better, right?
Yeah.
They don't. They are absolutely not incentivized to do what's actually important for me. They're incentivized to do what's important for their law firm, right? So they're trained in law school to focus on the details and not talk to anybody and basically stab each other in the back. Then they're taught in a law firm to keep their heads down, work real hard, suck up to the partners, and maybe one day they'll get some good work, and I'll introduce you to a client. Maybe we'll go to dinner, but you still got to get your 10 billion hours, right?
Yeah.
And then you go in-house, and it's like, oh, thank God I don't have to do that stuff anymore, right? It's so soul destroying. But everybody else in your business and the people who you're calling, Scott Brown is calling about roles, they are doing consistent career development, right? And they are taking absolutely, and I sometimes wonder, even I wonder, right, in the role that I have, how do some of these people, particularly with very senior roles, have the time to do all of this consistent career development, right? Like, how are they able to go to that conference and do that panel and maybe be the chair of that committee of that organization or whatever, right? Or go on Scott Brown's podcast, right? Like, how do they have the time to do that? I think they have the time to do that. My opinion, I'm interested in yours, is because they know that it's much better. Maybe they learned at some point, but it's much better to be doing the consistent career development and saying no to jobs than it is to be finding yourself sort of standing on the street in central London in the rain going, okay, here we go again. Now I got to find out if there's some contract roles. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think in terms of like carving out time, I think it comes back to, as I touched on earlier, like being deliberate, having a bit of a strategy and a plan, 3 month, 12 months of that. These are the things that I'm going to achieve on this, and setting out to do it, and just chunking it week by week, and looking at it as a part of your job, side hustle, and being interested. Like it comes down to being interested in people, which is really, I think, really
Curious.
important, and the hallmark of the people I interview in terms of the most successful. Like, they're often the most inquisitive, and will ask personable, and will ask a lot of questions about of me that I don't necessarily expect, and that just travels through with everything that they do and how they hold themselves. I think it is one of the sort of markers of successful or to be successful people, is curiosity and showing an active interest in people, and it's hard to fake.
But it's worth saying, Scott, it's worth saying on that point that of all the people that I've had on this podcast, and everybody that's been a guest speaker in my class, the key skill that they look for, and these are all senior legal leaders, general counsels, whatever, is curiosity. Second one's humility, right? And I think that aligns extremely well with, like, what are you looking for when you're looking for someone to come into a new, and this is for an in-house role, right? Like private practice, it might be whatever, hard work ethic, detail oriented. But for an in-house role, it's so much about being able to build rapport with business people and be in the room where it happens, right?
Yeah, completely. Because if you boil it back, like, what's the priorities of whoever your boss is for them to look good, and they look good by their team looking good and getting good score, like a good 360 scorecard from the rest of the wider business, and a lot of the time you're going to be meeting the business needs on the commercials and delivering that, but how you do it is very different, and that's where legal adds value, I think there's often the them and us, or like legal different attitude, but again, it's a good operator, and being inquisitive about the business. Like, that's how do we get a seat at the table? Well, by being interested in the wider business and understanding what the drivers and the needs, putting yourself in their shoes. Which it's probably easier said than done, but in some organizations, but it's networking internally as well.
So I think I would like to reframe networking as intelligence gathering for those people who find it painful or a waste of time when they're already in a job. Let's say, oh, I'm in a job, I don't need to do networking, right? I can't remember the author who said this. It might, some book I read somewhere was saying that it is fundamental to I think it might have been Simon Sinek, but it's fundamental to have that external view for your business, right? It's a competitive advantage to your business that you have a great network and you have a good profile and you go to conferences and you hear about things outside your particular bubble, right?
Yeah.
I think there's way too many businesses, some of which I have unfortunately encountered personally very deeply, that say, we're too busy, we don't go to stuff, right? So reframe that. You're gathering intelligence. You're making yourself and your business function, whatever it is, better and more competitive by going to the conference in Amsterdam, listening to some sessions, and networking with some people, right?
Yeah.
Even if you feel like you're too busy, right? You're helping your business out. Yeah. So I think maybe that's helpful for people that are not like excited about profile and networking.
Yeah.
I think
I
what I like to switch to now, I think is like the really practical stuff, right? When you talk about, and when I talk about like making this a part of your, X% of your time, what are we actually talking about, right? Like what should you be doing from a networking and profile perspective?
So, I mean, there's people who hold themselves out like LinkedIn. If we're talking about LinkedIn, let's start there because it's the biggest platform, biggest network.
Sure.
From
Maybe, sorry to interrupt you, Scott, but I think it's worth saying, and we've had this discussion before, and I've heard this too many times from law students, right? I do a lot of like teaching or guest lecturing or whatever. For them specifically, no one will see your Instagram.
No, that's true.
There's no networking going on Instagram. No matter how much you'd like there to be, no matter how much influencers would like, I'm going to try Instagram or Twitter or whatever. Nobody's looking at that. They're all looking at LinkedIn. It's all about LinkedIn. Full stop.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, they might reference check you on Instagram.
Yes, indeed. Don't put anything stupid on Instagram.
Yeah,
but
it's not gonna. It probably won't facilitate and start the conversation. So your online presence, your online network, and leveraging that. So, the methodology that I've used, and it's very like simple and straightforward, but to be time efficient. So for people in busy jobs, this is not your day job. You're not in a sales role. I would look at like, first of all, my external profile. Does it align with my why and my purpose and where I want to get to? So what I do right now, and that's your shot window. So ensuring that your LinkedIn profile is well optimized for the audience that you're looking to speak to, because that's your website. That's where someone is coming to either connect with you or to accept your connection. And LinkedIn is that it isn't a job board. So this is the other challenge, and I think the preconception that people have that my employer is going to see that I'm active on LinkedIn, they're going to think I'm looking for a new job as one, or it's a job board. I use it for that purpose. Your profile should be optimized because it should invite connection, invite other people to be curious about learning more about you, and it trying to attract as much inbound interest in your profile. So as number one, you could use AI to really smash optimization of your profile and get 80%, 90% there. Secondly, identifying target the people I spoke about earlier, the types of companies that you're interested in, the types of people that you would either look to recruit or you'd want to go and work with at some point in time. I would draw up a long list of those types of individuals, and they're your targets. And each week, I'd go for a cadence of like sending connection requests, 20 connection requests to each of these individuals from your avatars or however you've set them out, and then engage actively. This is where I think you can really build, is like the active engagement with your network. So more than liking, like commenting on people's posts throws you into their network. Second degree, third degree connections of those individuals see you. And if you're adding some credible thought leadership into those posts or into those discussions, then those eyeballs are coming onto your optimized profile. And then the taking it offline, like that one-to-one relationship, I would target like five a week direct messages to the types of people that you're looking to, that you're sort of wanting to set up those coffee meetings with, or one-to-one interaction, and try and aim for that sort of cadence each week. I think is a good starting point, and you'll start to see you'll get some wins and get some active conversations and exploring other people's interests. And it keeps you actively involved in doing it and coming back for a bit more. So those would be light touch, I would say, non-sales role approach to networking on an online platform like LinkedIn.
Yeah, well said. Well said. So I think, once again, to recap for everybody, I think, and this is the big mistake I made when I came out of eBay, I spent a lot of time. I mean, we're talking months and months and months, not doing what my coach told me to do. Right. Not a great listener over here. And basically what she said was, the most important step you can take, and this is whether you're doing your consistent career development or whether you've just found out you need to find a new job, is to figure out what lights you up.
Mm-hmm.
What's your purpose? Why are you here? What's exciting to you?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not like some kind of California mumbo jumbo.
Mm-hmm.
That's because when you go out and you make these connections and you have those conversations, people will feel, and you'll be able to communicate succinctly what you're actually interested in.
Yeah.
And what you're trying to do for them. This is all thanks to my coach.
Mm-hmm.
Credit to her. What you're trying to do is put that little piece of data in their mind, so that later, or even right then, right, hopefully on the call,
Yeah,
they're able to say, oh, I know this guy Scott, and he told me that he was thinking about how their company needed something, right?
Yeah.
And that guy David, he's got that something.
Mm-hmm.
There's no job there at the moment, like 90-something% of jobs, right? Like almost, you were talking about LinkedIn is not a job board.
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn is actually a very expensive place to post a job,
Mm-hmm.
right? The vast majority of jobs aren't there. The
Mm-hmm.
majority of them are internal, and the majority of those are still in the hiring manager's head.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if they can reach out to somebody who they already know is a great fit,
Mm-hmm.
because whatever your, field marketing,
Mm-hmm.
with a legal background,
Mm-hmm.
is what you're into.
Yeah.
That's how you're positioning yourself, right? That's how your network and your profile is positioning yourself. So that's really important. Purpose, what lights you up.
Yeah.
I love the idea of LinkedIn as your shop window.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very British way of phrasing it, but it's your website, as you said. It's your e-commerce portal for people of my age who are e-commerce people. But it's where it's your eBay shop, right?
Yeah.
And when you're reaching out to people, when you're commenting on their post, and they're like, oh, that's really interesting. Scott said something that actually makes sense on my whatever thing I said on LinkedIn. All I did was say, I'm hiring for a new job, or, really basic LinkedIn stuff. Or I've got a new job. And instead of me just going thumbs up, right?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, as you'll know, Scott, thumbs up on LinkedIn is a vote for this is not interesting, right?
Not
It's
engaging,
literally how LinkedIn determines that post is not engaging.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody gets 100 thumbs ups or celebrations or hearty thingies,
Mm-hmm.
and no comments, almost no one will see that post.
Yeah.
Right? LinkedIn will downgrade it via the algorithm, and it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
If you can say something about, wow, that's really interesting, Scott, your new role really sounds like something that a lot of people in the industry would be interested in, because it's at the intersection of, bloody, bloody, bloody. If you can say that, and Scott responds to that,
Yeah.
all of a sudden your post is now seen by everybody who's in that person's network, right? And all of a sudden they see it too, and their post goes way up in the algorithm. So it's like it's a simple but almost counterintuitive situation. So I think you use commenting, and I would recommend, start with your shop window, start with making sure your profile is aligned with what lights you up, and then maximize, it's not easy, and it's absolutely a muscle you have to build, and I'm still building it too, and it can feel pretty fake when you haven't done it a
Yeah.
lot, but maximize your commenting, your
Yeah.
authentic commenting
Mhm.
on LinkedIn to build the algorithm's focus on you.
Yeah. And yeah, I agree. It can feel fake, and it is fake. It's like it's some of the people you might not even know. Like but it's to meet your purpose, which we've spoken about. Then, and as I said, it's the platform of choice. So like you either want to have that profile and be in that position, which I think is a better position than not being in it, to have inbound eyeballs and inbound interest and things coming to you than having to go and search them out when you're in a bit of a pickle. So like it's just something you have to take advantage of and lean into. And yeah, I think once you approach it in that way and look at it as a means of networking and building your network, and then you start to meet people more organically, and things grow into real life relationships, then it's
Yes,
rewarding.
absolutely.
It's hard to see the reward.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think we should be clear, like commenting on LinkedIn for completely inauthentic purposes is going to feel bad because it is bad,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And people will know. I mean, we're all, we've all got monkey brains, and we all automatically know when something's not authentic. We know it's
Mhm.
not lighting you up. That's why
Yeah.
you got to figure out what actually lights you up, right?
Yeah.
And then you can comment in a way, you're networking with people you're interested in networking with,
Yeah.
and you're commenting in a way that's obviously authentic, which leads to, and the whole purpose of that, of course, is to build rapport with people that you want to connect with. And then I think your next step there, your next real tangible step, and I would recommend, most people couldn't do more, with a real job, full time,
Mhm.
busy life, 3 of these a week, right? But
Mhm.
like at least 3 times a week, message, connect, whatever it is, with somebody on LinkedIn that you're really interested in talking to, and just say, and I stole this from somebody else, I'd like to get your insights and advice on my journey.
Yeah.
That's it.
I think it's a very good guard lowering starting point for sure. That type of messaging.
And I don't think then you you're not asking for anything.
Mhm.
You're you're sort of giving a little ego boost
Mhm.
to whoever you're reaching out to.
Totally.
I'm always happy to talk to people, right? Like
Mhm.
you want to have a quick chat about like where you're at, and
Mhm.
I do a lot of teaching stuff. I'm happy to talk to law students. I'm happy to talk to junior people,
Mhm.
et cetera, right? And then, you know, you've got that you've done the virtual connecting, you've been the rapport building, the virtual connecting, and then, if you're really lucky, you'll be at a conference, which we haven't
Mhm.
really talked about, right? Like the real
Mhm.
world stuff, like
Yeah.
literally doing everything you can.
Yeah.
That's how I would put it. Doing everything you can. Like instead of figuring out reasons not to do things,
Yeah.
saying, this is part of my job. I am going to go to that conference. I'm going to fly somewhere
Mhm.
and meet people in person,
Yeah.
right? And build the network that way.
There'll be people cursing you, David, who don't have the budget to fly anywhere, but we'll let that roll.
Well, so I mean, and that's a great point. Like there's a lot of people who would say, oh, my business hasn't given me, budget to fly
Yeah.
to that conference. And I would say, when you don't have a job anymore
Yeah.
and you have to go there anyway,
Mhm.
you won't have the budget then either. And that's exactly what happened to me, right? I found myself needing to find a new role, and I had to look at the numbers and be like, okay, well, I could fly to London and be the keynote speaker at that conference,
Mhm.
or I could not have a job.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then you
Uh,
just got to run, the financials on that one
Under
too, right?
risk
So
reward, yeah.
I am a huge proponent of, and you know how much travel I do. Like I'm a huge proponent of personal connections, like in
Mhm.
person the fact that we've met in Amsterdam, you know, that I've been in your studio, that we've met in Barcelona, like all this kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
travel is actually not that expensive. These conferences for in-house lawyers aren't that expensive, right? You're talking a few $100 here and there,
Yeah.
a few hundred quid. I would absolutely make the effort to do that. And then I think the other thing is it's not just about showing up, although that's at least half the battle, right?
Yeah.
It's about contacting these communities, these conferences, whatever they are, and saying, I'm available to do stuff. Like, I'm literally available to do anything.
Yeah, to be speaking, to be seen. I agree. And a lot of the time, Emma in our team has worked at the lawyer previously and been in that position where she's been at least part of the team that's been organizing the conferences, where she's been getting delegates to the conference. And a lot of the time they're screaming out for people that want to talk and are have an opinion on something and want to get themselves out there. So contacting the organizers and putting your hand up for that, I think, is well received, rather than I think the default thinking setting is probably, oh, if they were interested in me, they would ask, rather than
I'm not important enough.
Yeah,
I'm not well known enough. Why would they put me up on anything?
Which is how I felt for ages. I've been meaning to reach out to David and ask to be on his podcast, but I thought, no, if I was important enough, I'd be asked.
Yeah, no, indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Completely.
Like, I didn't think I was cool enough to meet with Scott at that conference. So I kind of saw him there talking. And yeah, he's cool. So I'll follow him on LinkedIn.
Nice.
But instead of that, right? Like, obviously, just instances from my own experience of trying to find a new role, like TechGC organization that happened to be, something I was involved with, very, very lightly, I'd have to say, in the early days of that organization. I made myself available. I reached out because I knew I was going to need a new role in maybe a year or something. And I reached out and I said, I am available for whatever you got, right? I can actually remember even before that, there was this situation where there was a conference and I can't even remember who was the organizer. It wasn't ACC, it was something else. And it was in the Bay Area. And I was like, oh, that would be interesting to go to. I emailed them and I said, if there's any speaking opportunities, I'm up for it. And I'm a nobody. I'm literally a nobody, like I'm a 5-year, 10-year, whatever in-house lawyer. They came back to me and they literally said, well, the keynote's available.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Straight.
Right? The keynote's available. I mean, I can't even, I used to have a lot of hair. It all fell out when they
I would shit myself if someone came back
exactly.
with that. I would be like,
no, whoa. Exactly. And I was like, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'll do that. Right. And I already had some material. We've been doing this stuff at eBay about, what does it mean to be a modern, effective in-house lawyer stuff. So I kind of had something already, which was great to have. Right. And that's another conversation about having things to talk about, right? If you get asked. But I go to this thing and in the audience is literally, and I only figured this out later because they actually mentioned me in one of the things they did later in the conference. The CLO of Intel is there, the CLO of AMD, like these huge businesses. And I'm doing the keynote. It was insane. Yeah, that was all literally because I just sent I put myself out there. Yeah, and I've got tons of stories about students doing similar things. Right, I've had students who come to my class, and they'll say, and I'll talk to them. How did you get a job? Right? What's your job search? And they'll say, okay, well, there was a conference down in Miami for entertainment lawyers, and I'm really interested in being an entertainment lawyer. It's incredibly competitive. Like to get into that business of sports, right? Everybody wants to be a cool sports lawyer. Yeah. And they'll say to me, well, I reached out to the guys who are running the conference and they said, sure, you can have a free ticket. You're a law student. And then they'll go to this thing and there's, like 80 top entertainment lawyers and no law students, no law students. I saw that happen at Running Legal Like a Business last year. exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
I meet this person. She says she's a law student. We're having a good chat with some other heavy hitters. And I'm like, how did you get here? She said, oh, I just reached out to Connie and said, I'd like to come, but I'm a student. And Connie said, of course,
Yeah.
come on down. Only law student at conference of in-house leaders, right? Like just say I'm available.
Yeah, if you don't ask, if you don't ask, you don't get, and the worst you get is ignored, or they say no, and that might happen. But like you have to put yourself out there and ask the question. And 95% of people are wanting to do the right thing and help someone. So like know that. And I think this industry, I think the communities, I think speak volumes that people do want to pay it forward if they can. There's still an element of competition, of course. There's other lawyers that might be going for the same job as you or like the same promotion or whatever, but that's in the minority. And I think, yeah, trying to put you, it's not always easy, but knowing that by asking for something is you're lowering that person's guard and probably doing something they should be doing themselves as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's
I think the classic for me, Scott, is like there's conferences. I mean, constantly conferences, virtual, in-person meetups, whatever,
Yeah.
saying I am available for those things.
Mm-hmm.
I can be your fallback, right? And the number of times I've had people contact me, and this is before what I'm doing now, before I had worked my profile up to what it is today. Contacting me from those events and saying, yep, you know, the person dropped out. The sponsor needs another person to be on that panel. Would you like to be on that panel tomorrow? And it's sort of like, well, I was going to the conference anyway, of course, because I need to be out there. And sure, I can talk about international e-commerce stuff. Yeah, no problem. And the sponsors, they need people to be there. Right? So they don't want to have to do the work to go out there. The communities, the conference organizers, they need a roster of people. And if you just say, I'll do that, guarantee you'll get stuff, right?
Yeah.
People want to hear from in-house lawyers.
Yeah, and you look good to those people in their network. And even with, again, back to LinkedIn, but the amount of, I expect I'm not in the alone here, but if you see speakers at whatever event and you take note and you go, all right, they're speaking on that. Great, that's the person. You'll jot their name down somewhere, or you'll be added to, like, you're added to your connections. So the inbound that comes from that as well for a little bit of work in terms of speaking there and facilitating and making it happen, I think is exponential. So
consistent career development mindset, I would call that, right? Like I'm already going to this conference and it feels a little weird and maybe cheesy or whatever, right? When you first do it, to take a photo of a panel.
Yeah.
Right. And then post it and then say, wow, Scott and David had a really cool conversation here about.
Yeah.
Right. And tag them in your post. And hopefully, you know, those people will almost certainly comment on what you've just done. Right. Because there's nothing better than having somebody come to your thing, even if you're the CLO of some gigantic company, right? And post about what you said as being interesting, right? The conference organizers are gonna jump on that, you know, et cetera. And then you have an authentic reason to start a one-on-one conversation with those people. And almost certainly, if they're up on stage because the conference organizers asked them to be on stage, they are a valuable network connection, right? Yep. Always be that person that goes up to the front of the audience and just says, hey, that was great. Thanks very much for talking. I'm David Lancelot. Nice to meet you. Right?
Yeah. Goes far.
Always
remember that. People remember that name. And like back to the posting thing, if you're posting something and someone engages with your post, whether it's a like, if they're in that count, or if it's a comment, like follow up, comment on, like reply to their comments if they ask you a question, like drop them a message, like thanks for engaging, and it's an opportunity there to tap into their network. And as I do see a lot of that from like in-house lawyers, like posting, like they're their sort of quarterly posts will be if they've been to a conference, or they've been promoted, or they're hiring in their team. Like, being inconsistent on that doesn't necessarily reward, like LinkedIn doesn't necessarily reward that inconsistency. And where it's something that's self-promoting, which I think going to a conference can sometimes be as well. Like, I was at this conference, people work really well, or people respond really well to, and I think content that works for lawyers is like my day to day. So what challenge did I face today or this week that someone else or 100 other lawyers, in-house lawyers, are bound to be facing? Not sharing confidential information, but like the type of challenge in relationships you've had, or type of conversations, or getting something to work, or to get something through a budget. And that's relatable. And again, is better. I think performs better on the platform. Part of the course I mentioned earlier touches on that for designing it, and its CV design.
Yeah, LinkedIn is optimized for currently text engagement, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's very counterintuitive, but a post that uses only text, that gets lots of comments that are authentic and engaging, will do far, far better than a cool video that I post of me being in some fancy location and 50 people giving me thumbs up. That will actually disappear quickly.
Yeah.
Right. I have a different job, right? So I wouldn't say to people, emulate exactly what I do or what you do, right? Like we have different roles. We have business development roles. If you want to get authentic engagement, I would recommend, like, I'm at a conference, I don't take pictures of myself, right? In that situation, I take pictures of other people. I comment about what they did that's interesting, because my job at that conference is to come away with 1 to 5 genuine connections, right? That I can take that forward into the future, build my network, build my profile, have further authentic conversations, get invited to more stuff, right? And then just because in the end, what you're building is your inbound job pipeline, your connections with people like Scott and his peers in the industry who are looking at you, and the people that hire people like Scott, right? To say, I've seen you I've encountered you at the conference. Thanks for posting that about me. I mean, one of my favorite things when I'm reaching out to somebody is to see that in our chat, I've already spoken to them. If you know what I mean, right? Like, there was no, as you've said before, I had no ulterior motive. I was just connecting with them, and we had a little back and forth. That was a really cool article you posted, whatever. And then when you contact them again, it could be a year or two later, right? It could be, I heard that there's a cool role on your team, and my friend Scott told me about it. And he said you were cool. And then you see, we had a little chat. So all of a sudden it becomes a far easier conversation than a cold outreach. That's what networking is about, right?
Completely. Yeah. But it bugs me nothing more than I've reached out to someone and I've had absolutely, this is a recruiter's gripe here, I've had nothing from someone in 5-6 years of attempted those types of taps, not outright, here's a job, or selling, like, come and, like, can we recruit for you? And you get an email, you get a message, I'm currently looking, could you have a conversation? Like, I don't even know you. We've had ample opportunity to
indeed
to connect, but
no, indeed. I think there's something there to, and I saw somebody post about this recently on LinkedIn, not to like harp about LinkedIn, but somebody posted recently, and I've actually encountered this recently. I'm going to events where I'm going to be doing sort of like coaching and speaking to a group of legal leaders. And I'll go to the first one on the list and I'll see that I can't connect with them because I need their email address. And I'm like, that is a great way to ensure that people don't talk to you.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
And somebody posted on LinkedIn, like, why would you do that? And I'm like, I get that you don't want annoying salespeople bothering you. Right. Yeah. And I get the same. I get random people trying to boost my inbound pipeline with some new AI tool. And I just ignore them, right? I just press ignore. No, I don't know them. Fine. The last thing I'd want to do is some GC or some heavy hitter wants to just connect with me.
Yeah.
And probably say something like, "Hey, David, do you know anybody who might be interested in doing this big CLO job in Europe?
Yeah.
I thought I'd just have a chat with you and see if you got a good network."
Yeah.
And like you're killing that by putting those barriers in place, right? I think LinkedIn should be as open as possible.
Yeah. That's why that was my post, but yeah, thanks for
Oh,
referencing.
it was your post. Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. Good post.
Polluting
Of
your
course, it was your
namesake.
post.
Yeah. No,
Well said.
I can't get my head around that when I see it. It's not all the
See
time,
how
but
that like you authentically posted something that engaged with me in a way that like I'm literally telling other people about it,
yeah.
right? That's the
We're
definition
telling them it was me.
of a great LinkedIn comment or post, right?
Yeah.
Is something that's like literally in my brain now. So yeah, I think if somebody I've always done, I got to say, I've always done this. Like I have relationships with long-term relationships with recruiters and headhunters.
Mm.
It's just a no-brainer, right? Like when I go to London or Amsterdam or wherever, I have lunch with a variety of people just because like it's dumb not to, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're literally ignoring career development until you need a job, you're going to find it really, really challenging.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, yeah, it's the most important. To be honest, I just think it's the most important, if whether it's internal or external, like your network is just, as you go, the higher you go up your career, but you plant the seeds in the early stages. It's the most important thing for like who you know and getting the right answers, and whether it's for a job or just getting the right person, then it's so powerful. And becoming more and more, I think more and more powerful. And I think recruiters, not to blow our trumpet, but you speak to enough people in sales, you do know people, and there's good and bad individuals in all things, right? But in recruitment tends to get a bit of a bad shtick. But yeah, for the most part, you sort of you try to sort of leverage those relationships.
You find the good ones in anything. You find the good people in anything, and you build connections with them over time, and you really literally got to make it part of your life. If I mean, I spent a good portion of my career not doing that and basically finding jobs via contract roles. That's totally possible, right? Come out, tabula rasa again, find something. It's hard work. You got to prove yourself over and over and over. I have seen the opposite side of that coin now as I've gotten to be more senior and more networked and have a bigger profile, where I see these people and I talk to them regularly who are like, I got this job come at me and this one and this one and this one. And I'm happy where I am at whatever great company. And do you know anybody who's interested in any of these 3 jobs? I'm like, dude, you get that many jobs coming at you? And like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
It's pretty much constant. It's like, okay, that's way more fun. That's a better place to be. It's a better place to be psychologically. It's a better place to be financially, etc. Right? Confidence is good. People like it. Yes, Scott, I know we could talk a lot longer. I find this a very engaging and inspiring conversation, and I can't wait to see you again in Amsterdam soon. You mentioned that you run a course on this kind of stuff, right? Do you want to just remind everybody about that?
Yeah, so it's called the Executive Council Accelerator, and we've probably not been marketing it as heavily as it maybe warrants, but we've ran the first 2 cohorts, the beta version with clients and people that we've worked with in the past, and now we're sort of going into round 3 and in October, so October 2025, and it is all around networking, teaching lawyers how to farm opportunities, whether that's internally or externally. So a lot of it is passing on, like, this is what works in recruitment in a sales role, and try and re-engineer that into a legal, what a lawyer does. And we speak to enough in-house lawyers to sort of see what works, as well as some coaching internally for building and selling ideas internally and getting that recognition. So it's a 6-week course. And if anyone's interested, would
very cool
chat.
I love that. I've been thinking about that recently too. This idea of using sales techniques.
Mhm.
You know, how do you take what the rest of the business is doing and use it to optimize what we're doing, whether that's just like getting invited to the, you know, getting into the room where it happens, right?
Mhm.
That's basically the goal for in-house lawyers, so that we can help the business get over the horizon and avoid the heavy stuff. So
Yeah.
that sounds like a fascinating course. I can't wait to talk to you about that more.
Nice.
And
I'll tell you more.
you
Share
know,
more next time. And yeah,
obviously,
CPD accredited, nonetheless.
whoa,
The course.
wow,
So that's a fish.
wow, damn, adjunct professor material here.
Exactly.
Uh, I very much appreciate the time, Scott. It's always great to talk to you.
Thank you for having me.
And yeah, I can't wait to see you again soon. And for everybody out there, thank you very much for joining us. I think this has been a really great insight into consistent career development. And thank you very much for being with us on the Legal Leaders Podcast, and see you on the next show. Thanks.
If you enjoyed listening, please hit follow and leave us a review on your listening platform of choice. We love engaging with our community and hearing from you, so please head to inview.lawview.com. Thank you so much for tuning in.